All right, good morning. All right, he's present today. Coming off one of our two games this year that we lost by a score, having a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter, weren't good enough to get it done. Again, incredibly proud of our guys for their effort, their fight, the toughness to keep themselves in position to win the game despite doing the things that you can't do to win a game, whether it's turning the ball over, having more penalties, getting out rushed in the game, and not being as efficient as we need to be on fourth down. Still have a chance to beat again Baylor. This is about improvement. We still got a lot of things that we have to continue to improve on. There, believe it or not, even through a loss, there's a lot that was actually good in the game. Yesterday took some time to make sure that we recognize what those things are and things that you can build on. Again, you look at it again a game that's. There's some moments of frustration because of, again, just how delicate the game is, and when you again are in position to win and just weren't able to get it done, you try to find again the things that you can build upon. And again, we looking at the opportunities that are sitting in front of us right now to finish the year how we want to finish it. We still got a great opportunity, this week going to Morgantown to again not dwell on the things that we didn't do well last week, but really to look at the opportunity as an opportunity of its own this week to try to create some momentum to finish the season the right way, in a positive way, and get to a bowl game and continue to create momentum for the out of season as well. The areas where we're playing really well right now, obviously we have experience there, and the areas where we're not, we're inconsistent, and part of that is there's probably a lot of reasons, but one of it, again, you're looking at guys that haven't played a ton of football at some spots, so that matters at the end of the day, and we got to continue to bring guys along and develop things the right way, being faithful again to the little things. Our players got a lot invested. The coaches got a lot invested. And even through, adversity or losing, you don't just lose that investment or lose that focus about what it's all about. You got to accept everything that comes with it when you're completely invested. And sometimes it's easy to sit outside and judge and say, well, again, the season you lose your fourth game and everything, the season's over. That's one way to look at it. Like to me, if you judge it that way, then you just, like, when bad things happen in life, you just kind of pack it in, and that doesn't. When you invest like you invest in the game of football or any sport, you don't just. It's about the chase. It's about the commitment to one another. It's about the love for what you do. And even through the discouragement, you accept everything that comes with it. And so that's what this is about, challenging our guys, every player and every coach through all of it. Everybody's got to look at themselves. And, again, to me, that's when you got to be at your best. So our guys came back yesterday, had a great perspective. I think the perspective is what it's all about. And being able to, because I think it drives your perspective. It always drives your performance, and so if you got a bad perspective, you're gonna have a bad performance moving forward. So I think having the right perspective right now is more important, as important as it's been all year, so that again we can realize the potential of our team and again continue to improve and have the kind of finish that we want.
You brought up fourth downs, and want to ask you just broadly how you've seen the attitude toward going forward on fourth down evolve over the last few years and over your time as a coach? Obviously Baylor has had success with it all year. West Virginia's converted at had a high percentage rate. How have you seen that change, and how much does analytics play into it? And what are some of the other reasons you think?
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. I think the analytics are something that's whenever it's come out, where people are using it a lot. 10 years ago they weren't doing that. So a company was formed by some coaches and started really looking at the impact of those analytics. And again, you got to have a lot of courage and boldness and ability to be able to execute, in those situations, and you got to live with the results as well. It doesn't always work out great. You watched Ole Miss and Alabama year before last. I remember watching that game, and we're going to go for it, all these fourth downs, and they got destroyed because the other team was prepared, and put themselves, and they got destroyed quickly. The game was over quickly because of a bunch of short fields. So again, every week's different. The matchups are different. The analytics change from week to week based on matchups and the ability on the different units on both teams and things of that nature. If you're a much better team, than the opponent you're playing, they tell you to punt it more than go for it. But when things are more evenly matched, or maybe you're outmatched, the analytics are very, very aggressive, and you got to be, so literally the way an example of the way it works is at the beginning of the drive is when you got to decide. All right, here we go, P&10, ball's at the minus 38. It says, the book says 7, so 4th and 7 on your own, whatever that would be, your own minus 42. Are you willing to go for it on 4th and 7, first drive of the game? Literally, that I'm giving you an example of what the analytics will say, and so you got to know whether or not you're willing to allow your philosophy to be aggressive. Then on 3rd and 10, hey, we're going to go. We'll treat it like 3rd and medium, and see where the 4th down lies. So, and then be willing to go through with it. Not change your mind. That's what the analytics people tell you. So it's been good, for the teams that have chosen to go that route on a couple of the teams that you just said. And, I'd be interested in seeing the teams that, that it hasn't worked out well for, So I think it can go both ways.
Tough to balance that.
Yeah.
Analytics versus just
Yeah, I think, yeah. There's a lot of different things that go into it where you're like, that don't make any sense, But the analytics say it does. But maybe again, I don't know all the different scenarios. There's a gazillion scenarios that you can go through that you would say, absolutely not. We're not doing that here. And some of it too is based on what your success has been too. You have your opportunities to. Are you able to come up with things that are make it difficult too? They're just not just going for it. Like, I think the best teams are the ones that they got a lot of different presentations. It's not they don't go with, oh, this is our I got the crossover fadeaway, whatever, and that's my go-to. You can't just do that on all the 4th downs. You got to have people are too good, so you got to have lots of change-ups. You got to have a lot in your Rolodex is what I would say, and to be effective consistently. That's what Baylor does. They do a nice job with, again, first of all, they got a very experienced, physical, talented offensive line. That's one thing that they do that's really well, and they come at you with all different kinds of ways. They're not just running the inside zone.
Mm-hmm. Last time program, you were here a couple times, 2005, 2009. You had at least 3 losses at this time of year. Both those teams finished strong, winning 3 of their last 4 games. Do you remember how Coach Stoops handled those situations to help the team, guide the team to that strong finish? And how much can you relate what you learned as an assistant to what you're going through now?
Yeah, mindset and the continue to invest. Those are just being a competitor. Like I said, when you've invested as much as you had, you just don't surrender. Again, I pay attention to what's being said, or the opinions, and that's what y'all get paid to do. To to go really high with everybody or really down here and get the clickbaits and all that kind of stuff. That's what you do, and whether it's intentional or not, because I know some people say, "Oh, well, the season's over," it's forgotten. But those guys in that locker room don't think that, and those coaches don't think that. If that's the case, why don't you just end it now? You know what I mean? Because that's what some people report, which is fine. They're entitled to do that, but you would think it's not how you live life, or you're going to live a bad life, you know what I mean, or a miserable life. So, I think, there's some similarities, and certainly in the win and loss column. Obviously, you're 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 years building the program in a locker room full of a bunch of guys that have been around here not only, during that season, but for a long period of time too. So some of it's the same, and then some of it you're trying to create. Again, you got half our roster that hadn't been here invested in a really long time. So what does that investment look like for each individual? That's a hard thing to gauge. But certainly, being consistent with your message and being strong in moments of adversity or loss is incredibly important. And then again, being able to quantify, what just happened and what needs to take place, and the things that everybody's got to be responsible and accountable for, I think is important. You have to still, at the end of the day, appeal to the voice of reason when you're in a leadership position. And so you're not got to only be about it, but you also have to be able to bring people along with you and make sure that their mindset is where it needs to be. But again, our guys have again worked incredibly hard. None of us, this is not what any of us wanted, but here's where it is. And again, I still believe in our guys, their mindset, their toughness, their attitude, their willingness to continue to fight and work and finish what you started. That's what life's all about. And certainly that's what this season's all about. But for a lot of reasons. For one, for them to, your trademark should be your effort, your best. Giving it everything you got. That should be each and every one of the guys' trademark is, and that's what we talk about, being completely and totally committed to doing your best. You can count on me. I'm dependable. I'm accountable. I'm reliable. And so that's what that looks like. And I think it's important that, now, more than ever, that our guys, and there's been some guys that have had a lot of success. Sometimes the more successful you are, the easier it is for you to lose sight of all the little things it took for you to build a foundation of success too. And you got to continue to be mindful of, and again, as we're building our foundation, it's still about the little things. Just like that, at the end of the day, we walked off the field on the wrong side of it, and it was about the little things. A whole bunch of little things, that can make a big difference, if you get one or two of them right. And so that's the margin, that this game can punish you for.
Thanks, Brent. Come over to here, Jesse. Hey, Brent, you just touched on this a little bit, but you talked after the game about, the team having effort, but just needing to have a little bit more discipline when it came to penalties and stuff.
It's effort with technique. That's the formula for success. That's part of it. It's effort with technique. So if it's the kickoff where they bring it out to the 40-yard line, we're supposed to set the edge on that. We've done a good job of setting the edge. But one time you decide, I'm not going to set the edge and go outside the block, and you come inside the block when you're supposed to go outside the block. All your help's inside, and you go inside, and then they run it up the sideline. Next thing you know, they got momentum. They flipped the field. Instead of pinning them inside the 18-yard line, which we should have, which is give or take almost a 30% difference in the opportunity to score, we let them out to the 40. That's effort with technique. Smoking down the field, I come inside, I'm supposed to stay outside. Everybody's counting on him to do his job, and we didn't do that. That led to a touchdown. That's what I'm talking about. So we had, a few of those. You got to be effort with technique. We're in the B gap. Well, you got to, hey, man, there's technique to it. You can't go down the middle of the guy. You got to strike him. You got to get your hands on him first. You got to get pinned into the ground, and you got to keep your inside arm and leg free. And if you don't, they're going to run in the B gap, and that's what they did on 4th and 1. It's effort with technique.
How important are these last three games? Maybe establishing some good habits when it comes to stuff like that, and how much does that have to be played?
Well, these 3 games are no more important than the other games, and but the past is the past, and so again, the best units, the best players in any sport, the best CEOs. If there's something, they're consistent. And so developing a foundation of consistency is what it's all about. We don't want to have a great year this year and then, in 2 years, win 2 games. The best programs are one that have sustainability and longevity, and consistency is what that's all about. And that's the hardest thing. Just like I said, having long-term success, sometimes people start thinking that it's about them, or they lose sight of all the little things that it took foundationally to create that success. The things that success takes. So, these last 3 games are very important. And just all the things I just said, finishing what we started. Again, our trademark for each and every player and coach needs to be about everyone being their best and the best that they're capable of being. No more, no less, not to be the best, to be their best. And so the investment needs to be their best, their focus needs to be their best, the output needs to be their best. And so it's important to build momentum to finish the season strong, gives us a chance to go to a bowl game. And again, build momentum into the offseason as well. That can be a real thing. It doesn't have to be, but it can be a very real thing as you're, again, foundationally trying to, do things the right way. We lost in 2000 or in 1999. We lost our last game, right, to Ole Miss. You guys remember that, right? Field goal to win the game. The last kickoff, Deuce McAllister takes it to whatever, the 50 to get a couple first downs, kick the field goal to win. That could, you say, well, we didn't finish the right way then, right? But we go 13-0, a hard 13-0. It wasn't easy. There ain't nothing easy about it, right? They're throwing a fade route to big old 6'5" tight end, Oklahoma State, that won 3 games that year, and we escaped, by a score, Even though we went 13-0, won the national championship, there's nothing's easy about the game. So these last 3 games are really important. Again, there's some guys that'll be playing their last season here, and again, you want them to have a sense of pride about being a part of establishing something that's bigger than themselves, and whether that's a new era or again, long-term success. I believe that's what we're doing. Playing the long ball and doing things the right way and recruiting the right kind of people. And for us right now, we don't have a locker room full of guys that have been here a long time. Some of the most experienced players we have are guys that just transferred in here in the last year or so. But they haven't spent 4 or 5 years. What you want to establish is a locker room full of guys that have been here and have played a long time. So the best teams that we've all been a part of are ones where you have both sides of the ball, where you got lots of guys that have started 3 and 4, maybe even a 5th year, or at least that 5th year guy, he's been here through the same staff, through the same system, and there are great players in front of him. He finally gets his shot. Right now we don't have that to build on, but. Looking, again, how to finish the year and how to build the going into the off season, the right way. I think it's important that we continue to make an incremental improvement and again focus on the things that we can control, and that's pre-snap penalties. If that's again protecting the football, those are things right there that obviously, especially the turnover margin that. Determine the winning and losing. I think 26 of maybe the top 29 teams in the country are on the right side of it from a turnover margin standpoint. All have winning records. The teams that are in the the bottom half of college football, a lot of the losing teams, it's because they're on the wrong side of the turnover margin. If you look at the Big 12, I think it would be indicative of that. I think. Kansas State, maybe it's like maybe they're +9. I think then Kansas is maybe +8, and then TCU's like +7. We're at +1, and the teams that are at the bottom are on the wrong side of the turnover margin. So, we're going to need to do the things that the plan to win doesn't change these last 3 weeks. That takes what it takes too, and so, again, the ability to run the ball, the ability to stop the run, the ability to win the turnover margin, and, again, be the least penalized team is what it's about.
Yeah, Brent. Weekly captains wasn't something any of us had really been accustomed to. Has it led to the results that you were hoping for, and is there still a plan to name permanent ones as we get further down the road?
Yeah, after the regular season's over for our last, several weeks of our season for postseason play, we're trying to develop leadership and promote guys the opportunity to show whether or not they can lead, show them how to lead. And again, that's what coaching's all about. Again, and that's what trying to have the right type of locker room's all about. Not where you got, 3 or 4 guys, that's your only leaders you got. I want a whole locker room full of leaders, and the only way they become leaders is trying to put them in a leadership position. So you do that one experience at a time, one conversation at a time, and so that's what that's about, and we will do that. Players will vote on that, at the end of the regular season.
Consider the role Jaleel Brooks taken on as kind of a playmaker. You spent years trying to stop those guys. Is there anyone he reminds you of, and what are the elements that make a guy like him so effective in that role?
I'm not sure about comparing him to somebody else, but love how he's created value for himself through his opportunities. A lot of guys want to complain about whatever role that they don't have or the opportunities that they don't have, and then when the opportunities for them to step up and be a contributor come, they miss the opportunity because they're not ready for it or they're in the wrong state of mind. And for him, he's been a great teammate. He's come to work every day. Whatever opportunity he's given, he's come through. He's delivered. He's made the most of his opportunity, which has created more and more confidence in him. And he's done a lot of the tough stuff that we've seen him do, from blocking to a lot of the tough running after the catch that everybody loves to see. You see tremendous will and fight and toughness and competitiveness when you watch Jaleel play. And he's been, one of our more consistent players, all year. So I've been really, really proud of him.
When a guy has to get the ball in different places, you found creative ways to get the ball in his hands. He has the skill set. Is there a mental element, too, that's added on to that for him?
I think, being competitive, just having tremendous will. I think he's one of those guys, his will is better than his skill, and his skill's good. But I think when you watch him play, you see that. I think you see that with Drake Stoops as well. But that's what I see with him, just a guy that plays with great heart and great toughness. And again, he's made the most of all of his opportunities.
Brent, when you're 5-4 and people start looking at your defense and your defense doesn't get off the field in the game, people don't always see positive things, or they don't see things that you see in your defense. And when you look at individuals, when you look at guys that you feel like you can build this defense around, what do you see, and what do you see out of this defense moving forward?
Yeah, again, I see a defense that doesn't have a lot of experience, so there's going to be some ups and some downs. You got one guy that's been here that started a bunch of games, and that's Deshaun. Deshaun's started for 4 years. After that, you just go up and down the roster, and you see a bunch of guys that they're still learning how to play the game. That's part of the growth process. That is not a fun thing for anybody to be a part of, because it's one thing to have 3 or 4 new guys. It's a whole nother thing when you got a whole bunch of new guys, and then they're all learning the same stuff, at the same time. But Reggie is, he's been barely a 1-game starter or 1-year starter. Marcus Stripling is a senior, and he started 2 games in his career. Jordan Kelly started 1 game in his career. Jalen Redmond is not, hadn't been a 2-year starter yet. Jeffrey Johnson is a transfer. He's your other most experienced player. Isaiah Coe started 5 games in his career. These are guys are playing like freshman snaps. Ethan Downs started 9 games, not a year. Jonah Lulu, again, another transfer, more experienced guy. He hasn't been a 2-year starter yet. David Awebu started less than, he's a 1.5-year starter. Danny Stutzman still in his first year, still a rookie. Again, just talked about Deshaun. Jaden Davis, this is his 2nd full-time year as a starter. 22 games now he's started. Billy Bowman, he's whatever it is, 8 or 9 games, not a year. Key Lawrence, I think it's 8 games. He's been an 8-game starter. These are all guys starting for us now. Justin Broyles, he's been here for 6 years. At the end of this year, he'll be a 2-year starter. Okay, and Woody Washington, less than 2 years. Right? These are some of the older guys. So with that, again, I'm not making excuses, just calling it how it is. You got a bunch of, our best unit is our most experienced, and that's our offensive line. That's been the most consistent unit all year. And then you got a quarterback that's, been a, 3+ year starter. So, when they see the defense, you see it very inconsistent. You see 4 games of pretty good play and a lot that hadn't been good. And, the ups and the downs. And again, you had, 2 games that we lost against 2 good football teams, Kansas State and Baylor. It comes down to the last drive of the game, and we can't make the play. Can't make it on 3rd and 16, and we can't make it on 4th and 1. Against 2 good teams. I love the fight and the competitiveness and the willingness to invest. These guys have done that. But again, we're not there. We have no foundation, and that's what we're trying to work on right now. So I get it. I watch it every day, and I let everybody know, so we always look at how can we help them, We're not doing things that are complicated. You got to be able to count to 3 and sometimes 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how do I relate? Where do I get lined up? They changed the format in motion from 2x2 to 3x1. That's not a complicated thing. In the big picture, that's not a complicated mindset. Well, you got to change. You can't just stay in one thing when they do this. There has to be some kind of an adjustment. So, we're barely scratching the surface on the things, the depth of the playbook right now. So, is it harder for some people than others? Yeah. Yep. Some of it's youth, and some of it's they're not quite there from a development standpoint yet. So we gotta be mindful and continue to do the things it takes to develop the guys. Fundamentals, attitude, mindset, and again, they understand the ability to. This is a game of performance, a game of execution, and right now we're not executing consistently like we need to. When we do, we're pretty good shape. When we get lined up, make the right adjustment, and get our eyes where they belong, we've been pretty solid. When we don't, we've gotten punished when we're playing a bunch of good teams. The thing about the Big 12, I think that what we've seen through 9 games is that this is a pretty good conference, particularly offensively, and so there's no forgiveness from that standpoint. So, but that being said, we got to work on our consistency, and again, we got to be. I think that a lot of things too is just got to be more physical at the point of attack. I think that goes without saying, and again, we got to do the things that that it takes to win. And number one thing is we can't beat Oklahoma, so got to do a lot of little things better. That's what the coaches are for.
Far right, Barry.
Yeah, Brent, you just said you need to be more physical, and you mentioned that Saturday night after the game. Is that a case of you need to get bigger, stronger?
Well, we need to be more physical than Baylor because that's who we just played, and they were more physical than us. Some of it's, again, they've got 4 or 5 guys up front, played a lot of football, and they've been in college a lot longer, and that happens too. And so, or they've been in their system for 3 years. So I think all of that plays into that physicality part. And so, again, I think there's plenty of guys that we're trying to recruit. I got a guy right now that we're trying to recruit that ain't real big in stature, okay, that plays super physical. And so I don't think you have to be bigger. You have to play more physical. And some guys, and some of that, so what I'm talking about is that's a talent too. Your ability to strike, timing, and your ability to uncoil. There is a talent to that, and you can get guys more physical, certainly by growth and development and the weight room and the experience and the certainty and the aggressiveness that comes along with playing a lot. And knowing what you're supposed to do and anticipating leads to being more physical. So I just named like 10 things that allow you to be more physical. And but you want to recruit guys that want to run to the fire. I can promise you. Like you can recruit your problems or again your solutions, and that's as we recruit, we're looking guys that love to hit and that can run. Those are two things that are really important.
Brent, every coach, when he hits mid-November, wants to have a real sense of improvement, right? That this we're getting better at this. What would you say that is for this team? Where are you improving specifically?
Well, I've seen consistency on the investment part, which is where it starts, the work that you got to put into it. So been really pleased with the investment part, top to bottom. And, we were better on third down this last week. So that was an improvement from the week before. Last 2 weeks been pretty good in that standpoint. Again, I thought, I think we've been running the football really well all year. We've been really a good unit, not dropping the football. Marvin had a few. Braden had one or two against Iowa State. But again, we've done a really good job of catching the football. I like how our guys have, again, practiced. I thought we were a little better in some of our coverage stuff the last few weeks. Gotten our hands on some balls the last several weeks. The last 3 games, there's a lot of things that we got better at. Again, I thought we got whooped in the run game this last week.
Let's go to Ryan Chapman. Fourth downs, you mentioned the converting 3 of 3 for Baylor, but on 2 of those drives, they went straight down the field and scored. How do you find that response mid-drive after giving up a fourth down conversion? How does that change week to week to make sure that you're building into that? Because, like Ryan mentioned, with West Virginia Tech, the fourth downs aren't going away on your schedule the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, I think every fourth down in its own is like it's like a season of its own. I don't think they have to have anything to do with one another. We've had plenty of times this year, plenty. You guys you got all the information, go do the work for your story, but where we've responded after giving up a conversion, there's plenty. So last week we didn't, and we lost by, a field goal. So how do you respond is how you respond to anything. Did we do a good job of that? Nope, we didn't. But we have. So I don't think it's it's an every game or every time thing. But let's face it, it's when the whole stadium is screaming, yelling, and you give up one of those plays, it's kind of deflating, isn't it? Is that what you're alluding to? It's deflating? Yeah, and we didn't do a good job responding on those 2 drives at all. So another drive we held them to a field goal. But
Second row, quick run.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Drake Stoops earlier as one of those guys who does have some experience, has been around for a while, a guy who came here as a walk-on. How critical is it to have a guy like that who walked on, has been around for a long time, worked his way to being a starter, but also is good off the field, as in the classroom, things like that? What does that do for your team?
yeah, you want to have a whole locker room full of guys like that. You just young people of excellence. Obviously you want as many guys like that as you can. You help other people learn from them. I think environment is important, and I think people are contagious. So having a bunch of guys like that know how to work, know how to respond, know how to show up with the right attitude every day. What they do off the field is the same things that they do on the field. Again, autographing all of their work with excellence, and Drake has certainly been a great example of that. And we've got a bunch of other guys that are committed in the same way. But we want to continue to nurture that and be a program that represents that. And I think that's a great observation on your part, and knowing that we want to have a whole locker room full of guys like that.
Back left, John Hoover.
Yeah, Brent, I want to follow up on something you said earlier when you said you pay attention to what's said, and you mentioned clickbait and opinions, and that's okay. You guys can have that's your job, whatever. I just wanted to follow up on that and ask about, does that affect guys, the team? Does it affect players? Does it affect the way they prepare or the way they see themselves? Or interact with their other students or anything like that?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
What about yourself?
Nope. Nope.
In terms of rat poison, if you guys were 9-0 and everybody was patting them on the back, would that be the same thing?
I mean, if you know me at all, if you've done any kind of homework, then you're going to know I'm the same guy every single day. And so if we're being really, I've already talked about, the seeds of success, how that can be a detriment too, where people feel like it's, they inherit the right to be successful, whether it's a program, whether it's coaches, whether it's support staff, or whether it's the players. Maybe it's you've been very successful as a program, then you start recruiting, and these guys think they're just going to show up and win, and it's all about them, and they're the new hotshot recruit. The things that it takes to be successful over the long haul, I think, what it's all about. So, you got to value the little things that it takes to be successful. So, would that be the same? You dang right, because everybody will be way up here. Either way down here, as low as it can be, or way up here. Nothing in between. And for me, I want our program to always be right here. How we do what we do. Don't play to a scoreboard. Play and compete to a standard. Show up to a standard every single day. Doesn't matter what happened. That's what we talk about. Again, windshield mentality. It's always about what's next. You learn and grow from what happened in the past, but you can't stay fixated on that. It'll paralyze you. And so you want guys to stay hungry. You want to stay driven. You want a program that's never satisfied, that's always looking for more. It's always about improvement. Those are foundational things. And doesn't mean you're always going to get it, but the intent needs to be there. That's the key. The intent, the work that it takes to get there. Doesn't mean you always get the result. And so, to me, too many people are always a result. Y'all gonna write a story based on the result. Okay, well, here's the bottom line. There's the result. Okay, and to me, that's shallow. Okay, even if you're in a result-driven business, that's not what it's about to me and to us. And I think to successful people, long-term successful people, it's about all the other stuff. It's not, the result is a byproduct of doing everything, being committed, doing all the work, persevering, overcoming, fighting through it. Okay, handling success, handling the failure, all of it. You got to do that all within a game. You got to do it from week to week. You got to do it from month to month, year to year. And whether you're 9-0 and in college football playoff talk, and everyone wants to talk about, if we came out last Tuesday and they said Oklahoma's top 4, I'd been fighting like hell, against that, because you hadn't accomplished anything. It takes what it takes. You have to start over again. This week is a season of its own. So whether we're 5-4 or 9-0, there's a process in how you compete and play and perform at a really high level. Doesn't mean you're always going to. We had all kinds of issues, whether they're schemes or whether they're players or whether it's fundamentals or it's being more physical or lack thereof. Okay, we got. We're not where we want to be, but the intent matters. Okay, the work matters. The showing up every day matters. Okay, and that's what we're doing right now, and that's why I have great appreciation and respect and thankfulness for our players, leadership that we do have on this team, because they've done exactly that. And so, are they affected by that? If they allow themselves to be, and I'm not naive. Again, I know how the human being works, and my job is to be aware of all of it, and then make sure that I do a good job as a leader. Of making sure the rest of the leaders, I'm just one man, but the rest of the leaders are also, armoring up as well, whether you're 9-0 or 5-4. The journey's hard, it's difficult, it's challenging. It's going to have its mountaintop experiences within the season, and it's going to be some tough moments, like when we went to Dallas. And how you handle all of it matters, moving forward in the present moment and certainly in the future. Mm-hmm.
Coach, looks like that's all our questions.
All right.
Thanks.
Yep.